In the 1800s, New York City was growing faster than ever before. Ships arrived every day filled with people from all over the world looking for a better life. The city was busy, loud, and full of opportunity, but also full of problems. There were too many people, not enough jobs, and very few rules to keep things fair. In the middle of it all was a powerful political group called Tammany Hall. It helped people find work and housing, but it also became known for greed and corruption. And the man at the center of it all was William Boss Tweed. Tammany Hall began in 1789 as a club called the Society of St. Tammany. It was named after Chief Tammany, a Native American leader known for being fair and peaceful. At first, it was just a small group that wanted to help ordinary people have a voice in government. They supported democracy and were proud of standing up for working-class citizens. But over time, the group grew bigger and more powerful. By the 1800s, Tammany Hall was no longer just a club. It had become one of the most powerful political organizations in America. By the middle of the 1800s, New York City was full of immigrants from Ireland, Germany, and many other countries. Most of these new arrivals were poor and had trouble finding jobs and homes. They didn't know how to read English and had few people to help them. That's when Tammany Hall stepped in. Its members gave out food, helped people find places to live, and even helped them get jobs. In return, they asked for something very simple: votes. When election time came, the immigrants who had received help from Tammany Hall voted for its candidates. This system made the organization stronger and more powerful with each election. It also made many poor families very loyal to Tammany because they believed it cared about them. For a time, it looked like everyone was benefiting until corruption crept in. William McGeer Tweed, known to everyone as Boss Tweed, was born in New York City in 1823. He came from a modest family and worked as a bookkeeper before entering politics. Tweed was friendly, smart, and full of confidence. People liked him because he seemed to care about their problems. He joined Tammany Hall as a young man and quickly proved that he knew how to get things done. Before long, he was one of its most powerful members. By the 1860s, Tweed was the leader of what people called the Tammany Ring, a small group of men who controlled much of New York City's government. Tweed held several jobs that gave him enormous power, including state senator and head of public works. This meant that he controlled a lot of the city's money, especially money for new buildings, roads, and projects. And that's where the trouble began. When the city hired builders to make new roads or government buildings, Tweed and his friends made sure those builders charged extra. The city paid millions more than it should have, and Tweed and his friends kept the extra money. One famous example was the New York County Courthouse. It was supposed to cost about $250,000, but it ended up costing over $13 million. Most of that money didn't go into the building. It went into the pockets of Tweed and his friends. Despite his corruption, Tweed was popular with many people. He gave money to charities, helped immigrants find work, and made sure poor families had food and coal in the winter. He walked through neighborhoods shaking hands, listening to people's problems, and promising to help. To many working-class families, he was a hero. They called him Boss Tweed because he got things done. But not everyone saw him as a hero. Some people began to notice that the city was losing too much money and that government projects cost far more than they should. In 1871, the New York Times began publishing stories that exposed how Tweed and his ring had stolen millions of dollars. Around the same time, a political cartoonist named Thomas Nast began drawing pictures of Tweed for Harper's Weekly. The cartoons showed Tweed as a greedy man, surrounded by money bags. Even people who couldn't read could understand what they meant. Tweed was furious about the cartoons, but he couldn't stop them. The public started to turn against him, and even some of his supporters began to lose faith. The truth was out. Later that year, Tweed was arrested and charged with stealing from the city. He was found guilty and sent to prison, though he managed to escape once before being caught again. He died in jail in 1878, his power and wealth gone. Even after Tweed's downfall, Tammany Hall didn't disappear right away. It continued to control New York City politics for many years, sometimes trying to act more honestly, sometimes not. Eventually, new leaders and stricter laws helped clean up the city's government. By the mid-1900s, Tammany Hall had lost most of its influence and faded into history. Today, Boss Tweed is remembered as one of the most famous examples of political corruption in American history. His story reminds us that leaders must be honest, and that citizens should always pay attention to what their leaders are doing. Tammany Hall is gone, but its lessons remain. Power can build a city or destroy it, and no matter how strong someone seems, the truth always finds its way to the surface.